Imagine walking into a room and realizing that the person you've spent years trying to please is no longer just difficult, they're becoming a ghost of their former selves, yet their grip on your soul is tighter than ever. You'd think that reaching 50 or 60 would bring a certain wisdom, a slowing down of the ego's constant, frantic demands. But the truth is far more unsettling. For a narcissist, aging is a crisis they aren't prepared to face. I've seen that look in your eyes before, that quiet realization that the person who once loomed so large in your life is finally slowing down, their hair turning gray and their steps becoming labored. You might think that age would soften the edges of a difficult heart, that time would eventually bring a sense of peace or reflection. But I'm here to tell you that for the narcissist, the sunset years are rarely ever peaceful. There's a specific kind of chill that sets in when you realize that time hasn't healed them, it has only made them more desperate. We're taught to respect our elders, to give them grace as they navigate the vulnerabilities of getting older. But what happens when that vulnerability becomes a brand new weapon? You've felt it, haven't you? That nagging sense that the game hasn't ended, the rules have just become much darker. When a narcissist hits 50 or 60, the mask they've worn for decades starts to crack in ways they can't fix with a charming smile or a grand gesture. The tools they use to manipulate the world, their beauty, their professional status, their physical energy, are all slipping away. This creates a vacuum of terror inside them. And when a narcissist is terrified, they don't reach for connection, they reach for total control. You've probably noticed the shift lately, a certain sharpening of their tongue or a sudden, unexplained health crisis that demands your entire schedule. It feels heavy, doesn't it? Like you're being pulled back into an orbit you fought so hard to escape. You want to believe they're just lonely, that they finally need you for the right reasons. But deep down, you know something is off. The air in the room feels thin and cold. What they really want in these later years isn't love, though they'll use that word until it loses all meaning. They want a witness to their fading glory and a servant for their increasing needs. They are looking for a way to stay relevant in a world that is starting to look right through them. It's a primal, frantic search for a legacy they never actually earned. And they expect you to be the one to build that monument for them. Think about the energy it takes to maintain a lie for 60 years. It's exhausting, and as their physical strength wanes, they can no longer keep up the performance for everyone. This is why the behavior often gets worse behind closed doors. The sweet grandmother, or the distinguished grandfather, the neighbors see is often a complete stranger to the children and spouses who live within the blast radius of their true self. We're going to talk about some hard things today, things that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable or even protective of them. That's okay. That's your empathy talking, the very thing they've used against you for years. But I need you to listen closely, because understanding what's happening in their mind right now is the only way you can protect your own future. The golden years are a battlefield, and you need to know the layout. Why does it feel like they are becoming more demanding just as you are finally finding your own feet? It isn't a coincidence. It is a calculated pivot. They are realizing that their time is limited, and they are terrified of being forgotten or, worse, being held accountable. To avoid that, they need to ensure you are too busy taking care of them to ever look too closely at the wreckage they've left behind in your childhood. This isn't just about someone getting cranky in their old age. This is about a psychological survival strategy that turns family members into hostages. We are pulling back the curtain on the aging narcissist's ultimate endgame. It's dark, it's honest, and it's probably exactly what you've been sensing but were too afraid to say out loud. So, let's sit with this truth for a moment. Are you ready to see what's really happening? To understand the narcissist at 60, you have to understand their relationship with the mirror. For decades, that mirror told them they were the smartest, the most attractive, or the most powerful person in the room. But as the wrinkles deepen and the invitations stop coming, the mirror starts to tell a different story. They see a person who is losing their currency. To a narcissist, losing status is a form of psychic death. They don't have an internal sense of worth to fall back on. Most people grow older and find comfort in their memories, their character, and their genuine connections. But the narcissist's self is like a balloon that requires constant outside air to stay inflated. When the world stops blowing air into that balloon, it withers. This is why they become so frantic. They are literally starving for the attention they used to get effortlessly. Think of their ego as a failing business. In their 30s and 40s, business was booming. They had supply everywhere, romance, career success, physical dominance. But now, the market has shifted. They are no longer the bright young thing. This leads to a profound sense of envy toward the younger generation, including their own children. They see your vitality not as a point of pride, but as something you've stolen from them. This envy is why they often sabotage your successes just as you're hitting your prime. If they can't be the star, they will make sure the stage is too dark for anyone else to shine. They want to pull you down into their bitterness because it makes them feel less alone in their decline. It's a misery loves company dynamic, but amplified by a personality disorder that views your happiness as a direct insult to their suffering. They also begin to realize that their secrets are becoming harder to keep. As people around them grow wiser and more observant, the old tricks don't work like they used to. This creates a deep paranoia. They start to wonder who is talking about them, who is planning to leave them, and who is finally seeing through the charade. They aren't worried about the pain they caused, they are worried about the consequences of being found out. In their mind, they are the eternal victim of a world that doesn't appreciate their sacrifice. Every gray hair is a badge of a martyrdom that no one asked for. They use their age as a shield against any form of accountability. How could you bring that up now, when I'm so old and frail? It's a brilliant, albeit cruel, way to shut down any attempt at healing or boundaries. They are weaponizing the natural process of aging. What they really want is to be the great provider, without actually providing anything. They want the title, the respect, and the patriarch or matriarch status, but they want it handed to them as a right, not earned through years of kindness. When the family doesn't naturally bow down, the narcissist feels a sense of narcissistic injury that is deeper and more dangerous than anything they felt in their younger years. Their internal world is a chaotic mess of regret that they've rebranded as unfairness. They can't admit they pushed people away, so they convince themselves that everyone is just disloyal or ungrateful. This delusion is necessary for their survival. If they admitted the truth, the weight of their choices would crush them. So, they double down on the lies, making the narrative even more extreme as the years pass by. You've seen this, haven't you? The way they rewrite history during Sunday dinner? They become the hero of stories that never happened and the victim of people who only ever tried to help them. It's a desperate attempt to bank enough social capital to keep people around when they can no longer control them through fear or money. They are building a fortress of lies to hide the emptiness of their own soul. Ultimately, the aging narcissist wants to ensure they are never alone with themselves. Being alone means facing the silence, and in that silence, the truth starts to whisper. They need you there as a distraction, a punching bag, or a mirror to reflect back the false image they've created. They aren't looking for a companion to walk into the sunset with. They are looking for a captive audience for their final bitter act. Then comes the pivot. It usually happens after a significant loss, a retirement, a health scare, or the death of a peer who used to validate them. Suddenly, the narcissist realizes the old tactics of intimidation or overt charm aren't working. So, they switch gears. They move from the alpha to the victim. This is the most dangerous phase because it plays directly on your natural desire to be a good, caring person. They start small. A few more sighs than usual. A lingering comment about how lonely the house is. They begin to report mysterious aches and pains that conveniently flare up whenever you have plans that don't involve them. It's a slow burn strategy designed to make you feel responsible for their physical and emotional well-being. They are training you to become their full-time emotional caretaker under the guise of duty. Watch how they handle medical situations. For a normal person, a doctor's visit is a private matter. For the aging narcissist, it's a stage. They want the most dramatic diagnosis possible because it guarantees supply. If they can't be admired for their strength, they will be admired for their suffering. They will milk every minor ailment for maximum drama, forcing you to drop everything to attend to emergencies that aren't real. This is the health Hoover. It's a way to suck you back into their life just when you were starting to create distance. How can you stay no contact when your parent is in the hospital? They know this. They count on your conscience to override your boundaries. It's a cynical exploitation of the most sacred parts of the human experience, illness and mortality, used as a leash to keep you from ever being truly free. Then there's the weaponization of the inheritance. If they have money, it becomes the ultimate tool of control. They will dangle the will over your head like a carrot, rewarding good behavior and punishing disloyalty by threatening to cut you out. It's never about the money itself, it's about the power it gives them to dictate your choices from beyond the grave. They want you to spend your middle age auditioning for a payout. They might start triangulating the children more aggressively than ever. Your brother called me 3 times this week, why haven't I heard from you? They create a competition for their favor, turning siblings against each other to ensure that everyone is focused on them. It's a divide-and-conquer strategy that keeps the family in a state of constant friction, preventing any unified front against the narcissist's behavior. You'll notice they become obsessed with legacy. Not the kind of legacy built on love, but a curated version of their life story. They want to dictate how they are remembered. They might start writing a memoir that is full of lies or pressuring you to tell others how great they were. They are trying to SEO optimize their own history before they go, ensuring that the truth is buried under layers of glossy, fake nostalgia. The shift in power is subtle at first. You find yourself checking your phone with a sense of dread, wondering if the next notification is a genuine crisis or another manipulation. You start to feel like a bad son or daughter even though you've done everything right. That guilt is the engine they are using to drive you. They've managed to turn your own morality into a prison cell, and they are the ones holding the keys. And then it stops. Once they realize they have you locked in through guilt or financial dependence, the nastiness returns with a vengeance. They know you won't leave now. They feel safe enough to be their worst selves because they believe you are too invested or too guilty to walk away. The sweet elderly parent mask drops, and you're left with the same bully you've known your entire life. This is the turning point where many survivors finally break. It's the realization that there is no end to the game. They will take and take until there is nothing left of you, and then they will complain that you didn't give enough. Seeing this clearly is painful, but it's necessary. You have to realize that you aren't dealing with a person who is aging out of their disorder. You're dealing with a person who is perfecting it. As the narcissist moves deeper into their 60s and 70s, a strange and dark phenomenon often occurs: the narcissistic collapse. This happens when the gap between their grandiose self-image and their reality becomes too wide to ignore. They can no longer pretend they are the center of the universe. The result is a bitter, toxic withdrawal from the world, or a series of explosive rages that leave everyone around them shell-shocked. The consequences of a lifetime of manipulation start to come home to roost. Friends have long since drifted away, tired of the one-sided drama. Former colleagues don't call. Even extended family members might only visit out of a sense of grim obligation. The narcissist looks around and sees a wasteland of their own making. But instead of reflecting on their choices, they blame the cruelty and selfishness of everyone else. They become the bitter elder. You know the type, the person who has a complaint for every solution and a grievance for every kindness. They hate the music you like, the way you raise your kids, and the modern world in general. Everything is a slight. Everything is a sign of disrespect. This isn't just grumpy old man syndrome. It's a systematic rejection of a world that refused to stay under their total control. This is where things get truly dark. Some narcissists will intentionally neglect their own health just to force a reaction. They won't take their medicine, or they'll stop eating, not because they are depressed in the traditional sense, but because they are protesting your lack of attention. It's a form of emotional terrorism where they hold themselves hostage to see how far you will go to save them. It is incredibly draining. The emotional atmosphere in their home becomes heavy, almost suffocating. You walk in and can feel the resentment radiating off them like heat. They might give you the silent treatment for days over a perceived slight, or they might engage in word salad arguments that go in circles until you're dizzy and exhausted. They are trying to reclaim a sense of power by keeping you in a state of constant emotional instability. They often lose the ability to feel even a shred of empathy for your life. If you're going through a divorce, a job loss, or your own health crisis, they will find a way to make it about them. You think you're stressed? Imagine how I feel having to watch you struggle. They literally cannot hold space for your pain because their own internal void is too demanding. Your suffering is just another opportunity for them to center themselves. The isolation they face is real, but it's self-inflicted. Yet, they will use that isolation as a weapon of guilt. I'll probably just die here alone and no one will notice for weeks. It's a vivid, horrifying image they plant in your mind to ensure you never go too far. They want you to carry the weight of their loneliness as if it were a crime you committed. But remember, people are distant because the narcissist made it impossible to stay close. There is a deep, underlying anger that begins to permeate everything they do. They are angry at the passage of time, angry at their bodies for failing, and angry at you for still having a life ahead of you. This anger often manifests as microaggressions, little digs at your appearance, your choices, or your past mistakes. They want to leave a mark. If they can't leave a legacy of love, they will settle for leaving a scar. It's a hollow existence, watching someone you share blood with shrink into a shell of resentment. You might feel a profound sense of mourning for the parent or partner you never had. You're grieving a person who is still sitting right in front of you. That's the ambiguous loss of the narcissistic relationship. They are there physically, but the soul you keep looking for, the one capable of love, was never actually there. In this stage, the narcissist isn't just difficult, they are destructive. They have nothing left to lose, and that makes them dangerous to your peace of mind. They will burn down the family's peace just to feel the warmth of the fire. They want to ensure that even after they are gone, the mess they left behind is so big that you'll still be cleaning it up for years. It's their final way of remaining the center of your world. We've walked through some very dark woods today, and I want to pause here for a second. Take a breath. If you're feeling heavy, if you're feeling that familiar tightness in your chest, just know that you aren't alone. You've been carrying a burden that was never yours to bear. The realization that an aging narcissist will likely never change is one of the hardest truths you will ever have to swallow. But it is also the key to your freedom. You are not the fixer of their soul. You never were. Their happiness, their contentment, and their peace are their own responsibilities, regardless of how old or frail they become. Aging does not grant someone a license to be abusive. You can offer help, you can offer care, but you are not required to offer your spirit as a sacrifice to a void that can never be filled. You have permission to protect your own sanity. It's time to stop waiting for the deathbed confession. We see it in movies all the time. The moment where the difficult parent finally says, "I'm sorry, I was wrong, I love you." In the world of narcissism, that moment almost never comes. Waiting for it is like waiting for rain in a desert that hasn't seen a cloud in 60 years. You have to find your own closure, independent of anything they say or do. Your healing is your own. Empowerment starts when you stop playing the game. When they try to guilt trip you with their health, you respond with logic and boundaries, not panic. When they dangle the inheritance, you decide that your peace of mind is worth more than any amount of money. When they try to pull you into a word salad argument, you simply walk away. You stop being the supply they need to keep their false self-image alive. This doesn't mean you have to be cruel. You can be civil but distant. You can be the helpful stranger in their life rather than the enmeshed servant. It's about emotional decoupling. You see the manipulation for what it is, a desperate, pathetic attempt to feel powerful, and you choose not to let it land. Their arrows only hurt if you stay in the bullseye. It's time to step to the side and let them fall harmlessly. Think about the life you have left to live. Do you want the next decade of your life to be defined by their demands? Do you want your children to remember you as a stressed-out shadow of yourself because you were too busy managing a narcissist's moods? You have a responsibility to yourself and to the people who actually love you. Radical self-care is not selfish. It is a necessary act of survival when dealing with a toxic elder. There is a specific kind of strength that comes from surviving this. You have an emotional intelligence and a resilience that most people will never understand. You've learned how to navigate a minefield, And now it's time to use those skills to build a garden for yourself instead. This secret knowledge you've gained isn't a burden, it's a toolkit. You know the truth now, and that truth has set you on a path to a real life. As they reach the end of their journey, let them have their own experience. If they choose to spend their final years in bitterness and isolation, that is their choice. You cannot carry them across the finish line of life on your back. You can stand at the edge of the woods and wave, but you don't have to follow them into the dark. Your light belongs to the living, to the future, and most importantly, to yourself. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a version of yourself that is completely unburdened by their expectations. What does that person look like? How do they breathe? That person is still in there, waiting for you to come back for them. The aging narcissist wants you to believe you are tied to them forever, but those chains are made of shadows. All you have to do is turn on the light and realize you are already free. You've done enough. You've given enough. You've cared enough. It is okay to let go of the rope and let the silence settle. Their story is their own, and your story is just beginning to find its most beautiful, peaceful chapter. Remember this, and carry it with you whenever the guilt tries to knock on your door. You are not responsible for the loneliness of a person who spent a lifetime pushing love away. Imagine walking into a room and realizing that the person you've spent years trying to please is no longer just difficult, they're becoming a ghost of their former selves, yet their grip on your soul is tighter than ever. You'd think that reaching 50 or 60 would bring a certain wisdom, a slowing down of the ego's constant, frantic demands. But the truth is far more unsettling. For a narcissist, aging is a crisis they aren't prepared to face. I've seen that look in your eyes before, that quiet realization that the person who once loomed so large in your life is finally slowing down, their hair turning